Welcome back everyone. I apologize for cutting that duct tape short, but we are rudely interrupting you for this amazing semifinals because we have an ace match. I can't believe my eyes. I'm not seeing Firefly because he's not here. Instead, we have spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Royal Blood, the South Korean Zerg player representing CranKy Z Gaming. It is Dark. And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Royal Blood, we have his opponent. We have the American Protoss player representing himself, as he is no longer on Alpha X. He has been let go from that team, but still the best player in all of North America. It is Astrea. Here we go. Astrea recently becoming the ESL Masters Americas champion, kind of taking that mantle now that Neeb has retired. Again, even when Neeb was around, Astrea was vying for that spot. He was top 2 alongside Neeb for a long time, but now Astrea has claimed that #1 spot, and it is only fitting that the best player in North America is also fighting for his region here in ESL Open Cup Americas. We're infested by Korean players here in this tournament, and it's nice to have an actual American representative. Considering, what kind of region this weekly tournament is catered towards, so you love to see it. As we are getting into this ace match, unfortunately we weren't able to cover game 1 or game 2. I saw the tail end of game 2, and Dark was maxed out. He was up in supply. He was heavily reliant on the Ling, Bane, Roach, Ravager, and was trying to go for all these run bys, but towards the end, Astrea was just trading too efficiently. As you can imagine, Ling, Bane, Roach, Ravager is a very mid-game composition, and over time it does fall off. So Astrea was able to survive long enough, hold the line, trade efficiently, and eventually go for a big counterattack and overpower Dark in game 2. And now we have an ace match, and I assumed that Dark would take the series 2-0. I assumed that he wouldn't have too much of an issue with Astrea, but alas, I was wrong, and Astrea is making Dark work for it. So very exciting stuff. We'll see how this does turn out. Across the map, we do see Astrea going for a Stargate opener. Also, he's being just as annoying as possible at this third base location. Does force a couple of Lings out and does delay that third for a couple of seconds. Not too bad. As Dark is getting his own setup going here. Just hatch gas pool, pulling out for that Ling speed to have that third base on the way. Nothing too crazy from our Zerg player, but Dark is pretty crazy. We're going to be keeping an eye on things. We're going to be keeping an eye on his overall gas count, on his lair timing, because Dark will more often than not go for all-ins, especially on Royal Blood. But because Dark is in an ace match, I don't know if he's really willing to be that aggressive and be that crazy and be that assertive against Astrea in game 3. It's just a really risky thing to do. As Astrea is going for a Phoenix first. Interesting. Going to be prioritizing that Phoenix over the Oracles. The Phoenix will be chasing away and dealing with the initial Overlord. Behind this, we are getting into Oracle production, so we're getting into our standard setup as to be expected. Oracles are on the way, but Dark is unaware of that. He's at least aware of the Stargate opener, so he's going to have to respect that from Astrea and get ready back at home. We already have 2 queens at the natural. We have 2 queens in the main. We should be throwing down some spores soon. It's possible that Dark may think he doesn't need the spores and he can keep up with the Oracle play with just pure queen, and he may be looking to cut some corners, and that is where maybe Astrea can exploit Dark a little bit for cutting said corners. Meanwhile, this is an early Roach Warren. Roach Warren is hidden behind the main base. We have that gas on the way as well. So this isn't typically a fast Roach Warren, but specifically against Stargate play, it is. Because it's a Stargate, there's no Adepts, there's no Zealots, there's no Stalkers. There is no aggression on the ground coming out from Astrea. So there's no reason to throw down a Roach Warren unless you want to be aggressive. So We'll see. Maybe it's a safety Roach Warren from Dark. Maybe he's just a little bit afraid that it would be Stargated to Glaive Adepts. It's possible, but nah, we're going. This early Roach Warren is going to be for an all-in. The Queens are waddling across the map. I was talking earlier about how, is Dark really willing to go all-in the ace match against Astrea? No. Well, the answer is yes. As the Oracles confirm the lack of workers at the third base, they confirm the lack of queens as well, and now Astrea has to get ready back at home. Cannons and shield batteries are getting ready. We have a Dark Shrine on the way. This is a checkmate move. I love this from Astrea. There's no lair. There's no lair at all. There's zero detection. If Astrea can survive long enough to get DTs will win him the game. Uh-oh. And here we go. We do see Dark already just laying siege upon the natural base of Astrea. The shield batteries are not done quite yet. The Adept is going to be going down. Meanwhile, the Adepts do manage to shade into the natural base, but the third is completely compromised. It's completely exposed. The Lings will be making short work of the third base. Meanwhile, the Roaches are looking to file down that natural. The pylon will go down. The cannons are standing strong. That third base also manages to survive. Astrea minimizing his losses, and that Dark Shrine does finish. Here we go. The first CT is on the way. Lings will be... Oh, never mind. I was about to say that Lings should be able to clean up the third, but no, the Oracles do keep it alive, and the DTs have arrived. Just like that, Dark has to turn back around. This all-in is not going to work out for him. The DTs will be able to just take down every single one of these queens. Lair is on the way, but this could just be too late. Ooh. Again, the checkmate move. Every single queen falls. The Lings get a surround. They may be able to shut down this third base. It looks like they barely will. Up. Ooh. Overcharges 1 second too late. But what does Dark have left? Dark has 5 Ravagers and a Roach. The lair, he did accidentally make 2 lairs. He was panicking a little bit. But there we go. That 1 lair is on the way. So it looks like Dark won't die, but he's not in a good position. Again, Dark never intended for the game to go on any longer. He doesn't have any upgrades. He at least has the lair on the way to get into Roach speed and get detection out. But Astrea is not in the worst position either. We're gonna have to take a step back. So Dark is down economically. He has less workers. He's about to be even in bases, which is not a good thing for the Zerg player. He's delayed in tech as well, but he at least killed the third base. Like, killing this third base does do a lot for Dark here, and it does kind of help even things up a little bit. At least a little bit. Like, overall, the army of Astrea is still looking better. He's getting into Void Rays. We're rebuilding the Cyber Core. Again, important that Dark was able to at least kill that. We've got our Bay on the way. It does feel like Dark still has some catching up to do, though. And we've seen this before. Dark, he's got the Hydra Den on the way. I believe he intends to tech into Lurkers. I think in the past, when we've seen Dark bail and all in, more often than not, he backs off and he turtles up. He techs up as quickly as possible into Lurkers, and once he has Lurkers, he can make his way into the late game. We'll see if that's the case. Because Dark is making Hydras. He's got Hydra range on the way, but no Lurker Den. So Dark is looking to amass a Roach Hydra army. Interesting. I wonder if these Hydras are just to defend, just to have some units, or if he really does intend to commit to this kind of lair tech army and move out with it. Till then, you see Dark slowly taking his 4th base. Again, Dark's still behind economically. Is, you know, working on his 4th, sure, but his worker count is still not what it needs to be. Dark is moving out with his Roach Hydra. Bold move. At least he threatens a move out. Has thought about it, but does focus on cleaning up this Phoenix. Hydras have been spotted. Disruptors are already on the way. As Astrea has a wonderful wall off here to deal with any kind of bailing run by, and we do have that 4th on the way behind it as well. Meanwhile, there's that infestation pit. Again, I don't expect Dark to move out with this. I expect him to tech up instead. I expect to see a Lurker Den, but we'll see. Astrea is advancing forward. With this center base, he's going to have a pretty powerful launch pad to lay siege upon the creep and bases of Dark. We see him already taking advantage of that. Cleaning up all this creep. Pushing forward. Meanwhile, Dark unfortunately was a little bit supply blocked. Some DTs are slipping in to do some damage, and hey, they're going to be able to get 3 drones. Gas mining drones at that. And there is that hive. There is that lurker den on the way. So again, Dark has to just focus on being more defensive, keeping his bases alive, and teching up even further. Now, the downside for Astrea is that he hasn't recognized what's going on, and if Astrea wanted to, because Astrea's been left alone. He's been left alone for the past couple of minutes, and he'll be continued to be left alone as well. We have seen Classic in this situation recognize what Dark is doing and go for Sky Toss. You know, just tech up into a Fleet Beacon and a second Stargate, and even a third Stargate. And that would be the correct move. Alas, Astrea is still not fully aware of what's going on, and he isn't going into Sky Toss. He still has a Ground Toss army, and this gives Dark a chance in a way, because once the lurkers kick in, like, he will be able to go toe-to-toe with Astrea. But the lurker den just finished, and we don't have any lurkers yet. The window still is open, and Astrea is pushing through. Novas are going off. They will connect with the army. Oh no! Ooh. Massive detonations on the Hydras, on the Roaches. Good trades here from Astrea, but now that we have run out of Purification Novas, he's being forced back. We get a revelation on the army as well. The Lurker Den is done. We need some Lunkers, Papi. They just now begin. And Dark is on a timer. Well, Astrea is on a timer. And he's still committed to a ground army. Have a 5th base behind this. Adept counterattack is going to get 10 worker kills. As Dark tries to push on forward. And here we go. The lurkers have arrived. And with the arrival of these lurkers, Dark is safe. He will defend this base. We'll lose 1 lurker here. But again, he's going to be able to spread out his army. Now, pushing up this ramp is going to be such a difficult task. And now we have the Sky Toss transition. Now we have the Fleet Beacon and the Stargate. Again, this is late. This could have been thrown down earlier. But again, just Astrea was unaware about what was going on. So because of that, Dark is back in this. You know, he had a hard road to recovery, but the hard part is now over. He was able to hide his transition, get into lurkers. Now that he's here, he's forcing a later game. He is elongating himself here. He's establishing his 5th base. He's still behind economically. We can see he's still behind in the worker count, but he's catching up. We do see Astrea rotating over. He's trying to find another angle of attack, but the lurkers are already here. Nerves are going to be going off. 1 lurker does go down. Where's the rest of the army, by the way? Dark really doesn't want to commit. A little bit too preoccupied and concerned with a Zealot run by, and he will be able to clean this up at least. I had a lot of confidence in these lurkers, and I shouldn't have doubted it. The lurkers, they did stand strong. Dark is getting into Hydra Lurker Viper. We do have a couple of yoinks on those disruptors as well. It looks like some lurkers did fall. Looks like 2 lurkers went down, but that is acceptable losses for the time being. As Dark is able to get another base up and running. Viper is gathering that energy, +3 range on the way. And against a low amount of carriers, Hydra Lurker Viper is still a very viable composition. As Dark has plenty of time to throw down a Spire. Like, he doesn't even need it right now, not yet. He's content to stay on this army composition, gather up that energy, drone up a little bit further. Do see Astrea just trying to go for some run-bys, but again, at this point, it is almost impossible to get any damage done. We have so many lurkers on the field. How many do we have? 20 lurkers. That's a lot of lunkers, Papi. That's a lot of lunkers. the same time, though, no lurkers in the main base, and we do have a massive zealot warp in. These Evo chambers are looking a little bit exposed, but +3 missile attack does finish up in time. As the zealots do deny +2. Carapace will not finish at the same time. The Stalkers are trying to do what they can, but no, they will go down. To be fair, Astrea does want to get rid of these Stalkers. He does want to free up some supply for more carriers, more Archons. Storm is done. And we still only have 4 carriers, but we're about to have 8. So we have 4 being produced at a time. And here is the double spire from Dark, getting ready for the Sky Toss. And he's pretty safe and solid here on these 5 bases. We have our 5th on the way. I don't really think Astrea can push into this. He does have a couple of disruptors in this prison, which I think is really cute. I actually kind of like it. Just for these flanking Novas. But with the double spire, we're getting into 1-1 upgrades. Got pathogen glands on the way. The longer this goes on, the more Dark is preparing himself for what is to come. We could do with some... the Spore Forest is okay for now. It's not looking too bad. We have the Revelation, and Dark is a little bit out of position. He moves in with the... Oh god, no! He moves in with the Lurkers, but the Novas do come off. They do connect with a good chunk of those Lurkers. Here we go, the Hydra army is rocking up. The Spore Forest, for the most part, has been cleaned up, though. Dark has to be very careful, as we do have an Abduct. Storm not quite good enough. But we do have to be very quick to replace the Spores that we just lost. Your Spores are moving in position. Dark pushing on forward as well, but we only have 2 Spores left. Uh-oh. Yeah, without Spores, and we are lacking in the anti-air. Lurkers are spread very nicely. Here we go. A couple more Lurkers are brought to the front lines. I would love a couple of these Spores brought over as well, to be honest. As Astrea is looking for a bit of a better angle. As this has all been going on, Dark has been replacing his Hydras with more Corruptors. Ooh, but good target firing. Astrea, he gets the... Oh my god, he gets both Vipers! Every single Viper just went down. Astrea is pulling Dark apart. We do have the Corruptors dive on 4. They do get 1 carrier. But again, we need those Vipers desperately. We've got 1 on the way. Alas, Dark, he doesn't have a bank. This is becoming too much. Dark, his drone count is at 60. He actually... His economy is not looking good at all right now, so he can't actually replace what he's been losing. Lurkers are falling left and right. Dark, he is running out of the gas bank. He doesn't even have mining here at his center base. Wow, Astrea is doing it. The center base will fall. Right-hand side is not being mined from either. Dark is being pulled apart. Despite having the Hydra Lurker army that he needed earlier, he just hasn't been able to hold on to his fringe bases. Ooh, and more of these Lurkers are going to be going down as well. It was a rough road to recovery here for Dark after the failed all-in. He almost didn't make it here. He did have a nice Hydra Lurker Viper army as he tries to get into the Mass Corruptor, though, as he tries to get into the Greater Spire into Broodlords. Again, Dark doesn't have a bank. He doesn't really have an economy. He can't afford this. And he's slowly being starved out. Here we go. We have Dark coming in for a bit of a surround with these Lurkers, but no, the Novas go off. 2 more Lurkers go down. Rough trade from Astrea as he does A little bit too close to those Archons. Does lose a couple of them. Astrea is looking for another way in. We do still have a chance, especially with the Viper, but oh no! Oh, the Storm is insane. The feedback as well. Oh, Dark. Taking a massive hit. Maybe a little bit distracted by the DTs. And I do think that this is a slow death for Dark. I mean, look at the bank of Astrea. He can afford to lose his army. He can rebuild it once again. The Storms blanket the Lurkers. Blanket the Corruptors as well. Oh my god, they are so low. One more wrong move and Dark will lose everything. These Corruptors are, what, 2 storms away from going down. Lurkers reposition. As they reposition, Astrea moves in. The carrier's going uncontested. Dark can't really engage. Oh my god, another storm. The Corruptor's deep in the red. He gets 1 carrier. And Dark is just slowly falling apart here. He's down to, what, 1 base economy? He's got 1 mineral patch left in his natural. He's got nothing left in his main. He's got 4 patches left here at his 3rd base, and his 4th is the only real base mining, so 1.5 bases essentially. Meanwhile, Astrea is swallowing up everything else. The entire map. This is the most important mining base here for Dark. He's going to try and hold on. Once again, the feedbacks are too good. The Novas go up on the Lurkers, and a massive storm on the Corruptors to end it off. GG gets called, and Astrea fights back in this series, takes the reverse sweep, and moves on to the grand finals. GG, well played. My god, Astrea. He was on the brink of defeat in game number 2. He was on the cusp of death. But he brought it back in game 2, and here in the ace match, Dark was bold enough to go for a queen walk across the map. And Astrea had reacted so well to it. As soon as he saw it coming, he threw down a Dark Shrine. Because of the DTs, Dark just didn't do enough damage. He did get a kill on the 3rd base, but that was all he did. He didn't really kill too many workers. He didn't kill too much of the army either. Dark's queen walk fell on its face, and it was forced to turtle up back at home. And he turtled up quite well. You know, he was able to get his economy back up and running. He went up to, I want to say, 72, 73 workers. Got Hydra Lurker Viper out. And I thought that Astrea's transition to Skytoss was going to be too late. I was worried that it was going to be too late. But his army control is where he made up for that. Not just with his disruptors, more importantly, his High Templar. He was so quick to feedback. The Vipers from Dark were barely doing anything. I think he yoinked 1 carrier that game. I think 1 carrier got abducted, and he was able to kill that 1 carrier, and that is it. Like, the Vipers just couldn't do anything else. They couldn't abduct, they couldn't powerbomb, they couldn't do anything. And with that, yeah, without any spellcasters, Dark just couldn't engage with the carriers, with the Archons, with the disruptors. He had no answer for it. He had a lot of lurkers, sure. But alas, lurkers don't shoot up. GG, well played. Congratulations to Astrea as he causes the upset. He takes down Dark, and he moves on to the grand finals to face off against Gumiho. Let's go, Poppy. Let's go.